A desolate landscape. Husks of once great trees jut from rocks. A dense fog covers the skeleton of a dying forest. A bloodied, staggering soldier retreats onto the scene. He is pursued by a merciless enemy who viciously strikes him down. You arrive just in time to see the man fall. He is your friend Alex. He tells you the princess and king have been captured and begs you to revenge them before dying. Welcome to Golden Axe. Golden Axe is a game held in reverence by many gamers, and for as long as I can remember, I've always heard of it as being one of the best all-time classic beat-em-ups. So while I was fairly excited to check it out, I knew it was an early beat-em-up, and the quality in those can vary dramatically, even among those considered classics. But with all the praise I'd heard, I figured it had to be worth giving a shot. Released in arcades in 1989, Golden Axe was the second directorial effort of Makoto Uchida, who had found great success with his first game, Altered Beast, a trek across ancient Greece battling the minions of the villainous Neph as a resurrected hero chosen by Zeus to save the captured Athena. It was a side-scrolling beat-em-up whose main gimmick, besides being set in ancient Greece, was that the hero could transform into multiple different beast forms. The game was a huge success, and Makoto immediately set to work on his next project, a game inspired by action movies, primarily Conan, Golden Axe. Golden Axe was an early beat-em-up, so while each character has a decently sized moveset, there's not really much variety to combat at all. One thing that really did help set Golden Axe apart from its peers at the time was the fact that all of its characters wielded weapons, making this an early hack-and-slash beat-em-up. While this doesn't really mean much of anything mechanically, artistically it helped the game stand out. However, the biggest thing that really stands out about this game is probably the same thing that made it such a hit in the first place. There are powerful creatures in this game called Barbarians that you can ride, allowing you to become walking death, with multiple creatures and offensive styles. One purple bird-like thing can tail whip, while another lizard creature can breathe flame. The novelty of the mounts is one of the biggest things that makes this game unique, and there really is just enough here to sustain the game across its roughly 25-minute runtime. The plot of Golden Axe is described by the manual as such. The quest for the Golden Axe, a terrible scourge has settled on the land of Uria. The evil reptilian creature, Death Adder, invaded the peaceful villages and byways of this ancient land, putting the population to the sword and worse. His armies of thugs and other murderous creatures now run amok in Uria, terrifying the innocent citizens and exacting crippling taxes from the people. Food is running low and there is little hope of freedom. The very existence of Uria is now threatened. Death Adder has kidnapped the king and his daughter, the beautiful princess, and he is holding them captive in their own castle. Death Adder has also found the Golden Axe, the magical emblem of the land of Uria, and plans to destroy it and kill the royal family unless all the people of Uria bow to his will, swearing an oath of allegiance to his evil regime, accepting him as ruler. There seems to be little chance of defeating Death Adder and ridding Uria of his evil hordes. The king's armies were crushed long ago in fierce and bloody battles, but an alliance of 3 warriors from the furthest corners of the land may just manage the impossible. Another manual I found for the Japanese Mega Drive version instead tells of a war against giants, and Death Adder being the final giant who has returned and stolen humanity's greatest weapon, the Golden Axe. They both boil down to essentially the same thing, though. Death Adder bad, kingdom in trouble, go get revenge. Alright, so let's get down to the basics. Golden Axe is a barbarian fantasy-themed platformer, with the main character, Axe Battler, taking obvious inspiration from Conan, and the female playable character, Tyrus, wearing a chainmail bikini just like Red Sonja. The third playable character, oddly enough, is a little dwarf named Gilius Thunderhead. He's got a very simple design and doesn't really fit the barbarian fantasy aesthetic. coming off as a generic fantasy dwarf. But something about how generic and lame he is makes him endearing to me, and he's got to be my favorite of the three. Being a late 80s arcade game, the controls are simple and standard for beat-em-ups of the time. Your attack button causes the character to swing their weapon. Pressing it multiple times will result in the 5-hit attack chain, ending with comically bashing the opponent's skull with your weapon hilt before kicking them away. Holding towards your opponent while doing the combo results in a shorter chain that ends with you throwing the enemy away. You can jump and have a powerful but inaccurate downward attack, and you can dash by double tapping left or right. You also have a dash attack, a twirling fancy-looking back attack, and a screen-clearing magic spell for each character that has different levels of strength depending on how many magic potions you have collected. The magic spells have different animations for their different levels of strength, each one grander and more impressive than the last. I find axe battlers particularly amusing. It's just a mushroom cloud spewing burning rocks. The game plays well enough, but it is a rather slow-paced beat-em-up. Your swings feel like they're going through molasses compared to the snappy punches and kicks of most beat-em-ups. Each credit grants the character 2 lives. Each life comes with a health bar with 3 sections. That doesn't mean you can only take 3 hits though, as the bars disappear only after you have sustained a certain amount of total damage. As Golden Axe is short, it only features 6 enemy types, all visually distinct, but beyond the comedy of the Bad Brothers and Henninger's outfits, there isn't much to say about them. They're just standard, generic beat-em-up enemies, with Bad Brothers being the big boys. While the Barbarians are one of the highlights of the game, there are only 3 to choose from. Chicken Leg, the purple avian with its tail whip attack, Blue Dragon, who spews a jet of flame at the ground, and finally Red Dragon, who fires a powerful fireball from his mouth. One of Golden Axe's gimmicks is that after each stage, your character makes camp for the night, and while they're sleeping, little thieves will show up to steal your magic potions. But you wake up and chase them around, kicking them, and when you manage to boot one of the little guys, they'll drop the potions they stole, plus more for each time you punt them. The main thieves are blue, but you'll occasionally encounter red thieves who drop healing meat when booted. Art design is generic Barbarian fantasy, but atmospheric and well done, one of the game's strengths, especially for the time. This whole setting was a big part of what set Golden Axe apart upon release. There aren't a huge variety of enemies to fight or many bosses. A lot of the fun and the real hook of this game comes from what mount you'll find next, and then using that mount to tear through the enemies that would take you multiple combos to beat with just your weapon. This is aided though by the wild locations you visit during the game, such as a village on the back of a giant turtle, or a desolate skeleton-infested path on the back of a giant flying eagle. Golden Axe doesn't have much of a story, but what is there within the arcade game had some comedic value to me. For instance, if you leave the game playing on the title screen, it will take us through introductions for each character, telling us which of their family members Death Adder has killed. The opening of the first stage sees you witness the death of some dude named Alex, who makes you promise to revenge him in some great English. The game then takes you on a crazy fantasy adventure to slay Death Adder. While the arcade game just shows us introduction slides for our heroes with a statement of which family members Death Adder killed, the manual for the home console versions include much more detailed character descriptions with such great details as: they put Axe Battler's mother to horrible and lingering death. Returning from a quest, Axe Battler was treated to the sound of his mother's dying screams, and will not rest until he has heard the dying screams of Death Adder. Really adds to the feeling of a dark, desperate barbarian world. In Gilius' section, we are informed of the depth of the bond between Gilius and his fallen brother, and are informed Gilius Thunderhead has sworn by all he holds sacred to join his brother in death by killing Death Adder and then committing suicide. Fuck. In Tyrus' section, we learn that she got it the worst, as not only were her mother and father killed, but her people were all put to the sword by Death Adder's evil minions, and the jungle in which her race has lived for generations was razed to the ground. Pretty fucked. These descriptions make the game feel much darker and your quest more personal and intense than the comical introduction slides in-game. I understand arcade limitations, but including more of these bios on the character introduction screens would have done some great work towards building atmosphere. From my research, I found a few differing versions of the manual and thus the character bios, but they are all dark and atmospheric. Sound is one of the game's strong points. The soundtrack by Toru Nakabayashi is strong and helps to build atmosphere, but the standout here to me is the voice acting. The death screams of the different enemy types never fail to amuse me. I mean, listen to that. It's incredible. The character selection music is also really good. With all that out of the way, let's set off on adventure. Golden Axe opens on a desolate scene. Husks of once great trees jut from rocks. A dense fog covers the skeleton of a dying forest. A bloodied, staggering soldier retreats onto the scene. He is pursued by a merciless Longmoan who strikes him down viciously and runs away as Axe Battler enters the scene. Axe Battler asks the dying Alex, "Alex, what has happened?" And the bloodied, beaten Alex exposits the game's plot.
"His Majesty and the Princess have been taken by Death Adder."
He then, with his final dying breath, asks Axe Battler to
"Revenge them for me, my friend."
Axe Battler mournfully says his friend's name,
"Alex,"
as he falls lifelessly to the ground, able to go to his eternal slumber, comforted by the fact that his friend, Axe Battler, will in fact revenge them. And you're off. Alex's killer returns to attack you as his impeccably dressed friend Henninger races over to help. You'll be seeing a lot of these guys as shown when a second wave immediately arrives following their deaths. As Axe Battler steps forward, the dense foreboding fog that filled the background fades, revealing a green forest from which the dead trees emerge, showing that not all life is gone from the land just yet, and there is still hope. Also, this little thief fucker shows up, and Axe Battler just wails on him and takes his potions. Axe Battler approaches the edge of a mountain, where another Longmoan is stomping on some poor villager's head. As Axe Battler moves in to dispatch him, a Zubaroka riding a chicken leg comes riding into view, your first mount. All Axe Battler has to do is knock Zubaroka off and get on before any of the enemies can get onto the mount, which is a thing. If you aren't fast enough or get knocked away from a mount, the enemies will just jump on instead, and you'll have to knock them off again. Also, as you can see here, if you knock an enemy rider off too close to the edge of the screen, you'll be unable to mount the Lazarian, despite the sprite still being visible. Thankfully, in this case, it was at the right side of the screen, so once it scrolled a bit, I could get on. But if it happens on the left side of the screen, consider that mount gone unless another enemy jumps on it and then you can take it down at a better location. If you do get on the mount though, you're very powerful. Chicken Leg is the weakest of the Blazarians. He just has a little tail whip, but it's still powerful and will cut right through your enemies. As you approach Turtle Village, the sky reddens as the sun sets, and you come across the first boss, the intimidating Bad Brothers. They look like the Japanese versions of Sean Connery's character in Zardoz. I mean, just look at that. I'm still just amazed that anyone thought that was a good outfit to have Sean Connery wear, though. I mean, wow. It's just comedy gold. Zardoz is not a comedy, by the way. Anyways, the Bad Bros are also bald and have big hammers and mustaches, along with their armor being the wrong color, but still pretty damn Zardoz. These brutes are overconfident in their strength, and when their mighty hammer swings or thundering kicks send you tumbling to the ground, they just hold their arms and laugh heartily. They will also sometimes charge across the screen. They'll also just pick you up and chuck you into the air like you're a little baby. That night, while sleeping, the little dude's Axe Battler has been abusing returned for revenge, but he just kicks their asses again. We then get the school map screen. Our sworn enemy, Death equals Adder, is in his castle. We'll take a shortcut through the Turtle Village. Also, the map maker's name was apparently Sega. From the map, we return to the screen where we slew the bad brothers and continue on to Turtle Village. As Axe Battler approaches, he is swarmed by a crowd of fleeing townspeople screaming in fear, but continues on unfazed as the land ends and Turtle Shell begins. Turtle Village and the second stage itself is on the back of a giant turtle. Axe Battler fights his way through swarms of longmoans and henningers, making his way along the turtle's forested shell and into the village proper. More villagers flee in terror as we come across the scene of carnage that is the village. Also, the architect who made that house signed his work, and just like the map maker, his name is Sega as well. Here is where we meet our second Barbarian, the Blue Dragon. He's a powerful mount that breathes a stream of flame towards the ground in front of him. A decently ranged, very powerful attack. So if you can, unlike me, actually get on this mount, you can roast these village pillaging assholes, otherwise just chop them up like usual. As Axe Battler fights his way through the village, he is eventually set upon by a skeleton minion sent by Death Adder, totally changing the implications of our villain's power. Up until this point, we had only seen him command human and Barbarian forces, but now we see he also controls the undead. We now get another map screen with this little drawing of Turtle Village and arrows to track our journey. Also, wait, is that the signature down there? Was this map written by the famed cartographer Doi Doi? If so, then what's with the Sega up there? Are there really brands in the world of Golden Axe? Whatever. The village was on the back of a giant turtle. The turtle takes us south across the sea. I really love how this game shows your progress this way. It adds a lot of atmosphere. Also, this map music is just great. Really atmospheric. As we return to the village, we're attacked by a longmoan riding the third and final Barbarian, the Red Dragon. This guy just fires a single fireball across the screen, killing all in his path. He's the most powerful Barbarian in the game, and when you get him, you can do some serious damage. This section of the stage actually gives you the option of all three mounts, as you are soon set upon by a mob of enemies, including a chicken leg rider and a blue dragon rider. After dispatching them, you reach the end of the turtle shell and emerge onto this wooden structure built onto the turtle's head. That's gotta suck for that turtle. Like, the stuff on his shell, sure, not that big a deal. But they put fucking posts in his goddamn head. Fucking assholes. Anyways, I really like the art here on the turtle head, and I love the little eye movement animations. It's not much, but I think it's just great. From the turtle's painful looking hat, Axe Battler crosses on to a rocky cliffside, where more bad brothers await. And there's a larger city featuring a Sega beer garden. So I guess brands are just a thing in the barbaric world of Golden Axe. Whatever. Axe Battler is attacked by a massive silver knight with this huge fucking sword and shield. He takes a ton of hits to kill and has giant range on his strikes. Defeat him and Knight falls. In the night, a gang of thieves attack and Axe Battler stomps the fuck out of those little dudes. We are returned to the map screen with its mysterious music. We have come in close vicinity to the castle, but the way is packed by enemy lines. We must dare the fiend's path to reach the castle. We return to the official Sega beer garden in a city in the barbarian fantasy land of Uria. Axe Battler leaves the front of the beer garden and climbs these two massive wooden steps, leading him to the tail of a giant eagle. The back of this eagle is covered in a thick layer of dry, cracked soil. Unlike the giant turtle with his shell, this is just an eagle. Having all of this dry soil on his back, which apparently is also full of goddamn skeletons, must be unbearable. As you soar through the clouds, dark versions of Death Adder's soldiers swarm Axe Battler. Axe Battler defeats them and night falls once again. That night, Axe Battler discovers that even the eagle's back is infested with puntable little thieves. The Sega and Doi Doi collab map opens once again. The Fiend's path was a great, great eagle. We are taken across the skies to the castle. Now, the final battle begins. Axe Battler continues his battle with the army of skeletons hiding in the thick cracked soil on the eagle's back. He then climbs the eagle's neck, and we can see the eagle's horrific coating of dry, rocky soil leads almost right up to its eyeballs. The animation on the eagle's eyes is nice, and I really appreciate the eagle head as a whole. This is one awesome fantasy adventure that the folks at Sega cooked up for us. Now avoid just walking right off the eagle's head to your death, and continue onwards. The drawbridge mechanism to allow for people to get on and off the eagle is a nice touch, and then you find yourself assaulted by a blue dragon, a smattering of longmoans, henningers, a zubaruka, and finally a now pink version of the previous armored night boss, before entering the castle proper, which leads right into a throne room, where snakes, presumably adders, slither towards a mound of mangled bodies and a helmet. The snakes and corpses meld together to form Death Adder. Above the throne, the royals can be seen hanging. The final battle begins. It's a long, drawn-out fight due to how tanky Death Adder is, and he comes accompanied by minions. This battle really feels designed to munch on your quarters. With Death Adder finally defeated, Axe Battler lowers the royals and the map appears once again with a short, succinct message. Congratulations. Then we're treated to this zany ending where we see 3 kids playing a great axe machine before the screen explodes and the villains from Golden Axe jump forth from the arcade machine, accompanied by the Barbarians and finally pursued by our 3 intrepid heroes. The Picari Sweat parody and video game Doi Doi are a nice touch, showing that not only was Doi Doi a map maker, but I guess he also owns an arcade in this other Sega world? Then Sega leaves us with one final message. See you next game. Finally, the game shows a screen where it tallies up your performance score stage by stage and gives you a final grade. This screen really shows how ridiculous the final fight is, as I spent just as many credits on the final stage as I had for the previous 8 combined. We're not gonna talk about my score. And that's Golden Axe, one of the important success stories in the early days of beat-em-ups. While many games would come along and iterate on what Golden Axe did, but better, the mounts still help the game stand out to this day. In other areas though, the game now does feel quite generic, and hasn't aged perfectly. While its Conan-esque fantasy aesthetic may have been unique at the time of release, it has become much more common and been iterated on many times since. The art, while quite good, is a bit dated and colors are dull. One of the game's greatest strengths, however, lies in its short runtime. This, combined with the variety of mounts and how they are spaced through the game, kept me just interested enough that I did end up having fun for the 20 minutes and change that I spent on each run. And I have found myself replaying the game multiple times throughout my preparation for this video. Still enjoying it each time. This is a game that, while not the most amazing thing ever, I do believe is still worth checking out. Thank you very much for watching my deep dive on Golden Axe Arcade. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you next game, and remember, winners don't do drugs.